Mute myself. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome.
I'm Anuj,
I'm Stephanie.
and we're so glad you're going to be growing kombucha mothers for Mother Nurture with us. So we're going to demo how this process is done, and we're following the recipe that was sent to you, the Grow Your Own Mother link that was sent to you. So if you follow along with that and follow this video, you should be good to go.
Absolutely.
So we'll start first with a container, and there's the first thing is to pick a container. This is the one we're going to be using. It's a big Tupperware container that we found. And I just opened up my cupboard, and this is what was available. I pulled it out. But then you can also use these like containers this size, just used takeout containers that might be repurposed or.
I have a, and then you could, this is a good example of a smaller size, but I have a bigger thing. It's like, I don't know, a box I put art supplies in or something, or if you have some kind of like a shoebox size. And we're showing you all things that are plastic, which works great for this because you probably have some kind of a plastic container. But if you have glass, ceramic also works fine. We just find usually people have a plastic container hanging around their house that they can use with a lid.
With a lid,
that would be important.
Yes.
You need a lid.
So I guess you could cover this with like cheesecloth or with just a breathing
plastic wrap or
plastic wrap or something that breathes a little bit.
That's
right?
true. You want a little bit of airflow, right?
So any of these kinds of containers work, and we're looking really for not so much for depth because you don't have to put like this is not such a deep container, but it'll still work. What we're looking for is surface area, really, in terms of growth.
Right, so something, because the mother will end up taking the shape of whatever container you put it in, the surface of it. So if you put it in this jar, it wouldn't grow deep into the jar, it would just grow on the surface. So you'd get something, that's about that big of a circle, which is why the one that Anuj just showed you and the one we're going to use, we only need to fill it up with a little bit of liquid and it'll end up being this whole size.
And you can also do something that's rounded on the bottom. It doesn't have to be flat on the bottom. Like a salad bowl with a cover will also work.
Definitely.
And I guess, where do we keep it? Once you're done, we'll go through the whole process of making the tea and putting the mother in, and then you want to put it somewhere on a counter or in a dark.
You could like put it up on top of your fridge with a towel over it, or just over
on the side counter with a towel over it, or even inside one of your cupboards if you have space and want it out of the way.
Yeah, a lot of people keep their kombucha for drinking in a cupboard because it's dark, which is good. Light won't kill it, but it tends to grow better in dark conditions. You want to avoid putting it in direct sunlight because that will get too hot. So that's why we're suggesting you can leave it out in like a daylight space, but put a towel over it or something to just block all of that direct sunlight.
And I guess ideal temperature is somewhere between like 26 and 30 degrees Fahrenheit.
Or Celsius.
Sorry. Yeah. 30, yes, Celsius, right. 26 to 30
we're like,
Celsius.
Like 65 to 80, it definitely grows quicker in warmer weather. Right. Yeah. So if you're someone who uses their air conditioning and sets your house to like 60 degrees, it's going to grow slower versus somebody who keeps their home a little warmer, it will grow more quickly.
Right. And you could even think about putting it inside your oven when it's not being used because actually the oven space with the pilot light creates a bit of warmth, right? And so that might be a good place for it. But remember to take it out.
Just don't forget that it's in your oven when you turn it on in a plastic container.
Exactly.
All right, so maybe we can we talked about the container, but there's some other materials that you're gonna need to actually start the process of making the kombucha. And I'll maybe say some. The first is you can use a black or a green tea. And it doesn't have to be an expensive tea. These are packets of black tea that I got just at the grocery store. I got a big container of them. So you like Lipton tea works fine. Just any kind of black or green tea that you have on hand.
And then when you put it into the tea, you want to remove the the staple. And when you put it in to the tea.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do it sometimes.
Yeah, and me too. I don't always
Sometimes
follow
I do
that
it, yeah.
technically, yeah. But I guess we're not drinking this, so I guess it's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
won't be drinking it. The other important ingredients you'll need is water. So because you're basically making a sugary tea substance that the kombucha mother will then go in. So the recipe that you have calls for distilled water, and we have some anecdotal evidence that makes a softer, more pliable kombucha mother. So
and it grows faster. It definitely does grow faster.
All right, so if you have access to distilled water, that's great. If not, just purified water, reverse osmosis, filtered water would also be a great second choice. And if you really don't have access to that at all, you can absolutely make it with tap water. Yeah, that's fine. We made plenty of with tap water.
Okay.
But I think you're going to get the best results with that filtered or distilled water.
Yeah.
Another thing you'll need is sugar. So I said we're making like a sweetened tea. So we've got the black tea, the distilled water, and then you'll need sugar, just white granulated sugar, or you can use a kind of natural raw cane sugar. Doesn't really matter, just any kind of sugar that you have on hand to create that sweet environment. Then you'll also, for the recipe we're using, need vinegar. So we're using apple cider vinegar. And it's proportional to how much water and tea you're making. So this one is 2 cups because we're going to follow the recipe exactly. So this is 2 cups of vinegar. And then the last and most important ingredient is a kombucha mother.
Ta-da!
Which is also called a SCOBY, which is an acronym for a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And there's like a kind of quarter cut of a SCOBY. I can show you one that was growing in this container, and it actually kind of already ended up being this rectangle-y shape.
Beautiful.
So it's soft and pliable, and you can see the mother that I used to grow this is actually attached to it, and I can just remove it. Because it has already grown. It's already growing this new top layer, which is basically what you'll be growing in your containers.
That's what you'll be drying. Something like that is what we'll be drying into leather.
This is kind of the very end product is what it will end up looking like. Right. Now.
And the mother can stay as long as she is immersed in the kombucha liquid. She can stay in the refrigerator and be activated whenever you start the tea process. So you can put the mother in a container or in a ziploc bag with a little bit of liquid and put it in the fridge for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month or more.
Oh yeah. I have this jar of some leftover kombucha mothers that have been in there for over 2 months, maybe 3 months. I just leave them in there.
Yeah.
Not even in the fridge, just outside.
Okay, so those are all the ingredients.
So the black tea or green tea, sugar, water, kombucha mother, vinegar, and then a vessel, a container that you're going to put everything into. Okay, so now we're going to demo what that process looks like. All right. So we will do 1 liter of water.
Which is about 4 cups.
Yep, perfect. And I'm just putting it right in an electric kettle to heat it up. You could also put it on a pot on your stove, however you like to heat up water. Right. And then we would, so I do my tea in like a separate container. Is that usually how you do it?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just because it's too hot to put into a plastic container directly. So
have a glass jar that we can use for that purpose, but you could even make it, if you were using a tea kettle, you could make it right in the tea kettle, or if you were using a pot to heat up the water, you could make the tea right in the pot. That's totally fine. Either is fine. And so yeah, Anush has removed the tags from the tea, so we'll just put them in there. All 5 that we're using.
5 bags for
4 cups.
For 4 cups, yeah.
Of the hot water, and then you can add up to 6 of the cold water.
Exactly.
So making a strong brew. And instead of waiting for that to heat up, we're gonna pretend that I put the hot water on it. Yes. And I'm gonna bring one over that has already been steeping for about 10 minutes now. So after you add the hot water to the tea, you want to let it sit and steep for about 10 minutes until it becomes a nice, rich black tea. I'm going to go ahead and take these out. Squeeze out every inch of tea. I'm going to do the sugar.
2 cups of sugar?
Yeah, there's a half scoop in there.
There is already. And that's a cup, right?
It's a half cup.
Oh, this is a half cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we're gonna add the sugar to it because it's warm. It's a warm tea, so the sugar is gonna dissolve quickly. Whereas if you were trying to add this to cool water, it would take a while. So that's why we make the hot tea, brew it, add the sugar. So this will be 1.5, and then we're gonna go for 2 cups of sugar.
The sugar is what the kombucha, it gets converted into the mother, is what gets fermented, and in the process the mother is produced, the cellulose, the bacterial cellulose, which is the mother, is produced. So sugar is what is essential.
Exactly. The tea is for flavor and color. It really just needs the sugar. All right. Okay, so we've got our warm tea with sugar in it. And this is still pretty warm, so I could add some cool water to it. Your recipe will tell you to make 4 cups of the hot water and then add 6 cups of the cold water, which works great if you're using a bigger vessel, maybe something like this. That'll come up about there. That's perfect. But if you're using a smaller one, you don't need to add, 6 whole cups of water to it. That's really just to cool it down and create more volume. So I'll add a little to cool it down.
And then the vinegar will also help cool it down.
Yes. So this is now 2 cups of vinegar, apple cider vinegar, that I will add to our mix. I'll have to wait to add the rest into the container itself. And then we just move our whole mix of vinegar, water, sugar, and tea into the fermenting vessel that we're going to use. There she goes. That fit pretty well.
Yeah.
All right. And then that feels a little warm, but it's not hot. It's just just warm. So you're going for room temperature. A little warm is okay. Because once it gets to that temperature, then we're gonna go ahead and put the kombucha mother into it. So here's our SCOBY. And then we're gonna drop her into the tea and vinegar mixture. And when she goes in, she sinks to the bottom, and that's totally fine. That's not a problem at all. Over time, she is going to grow and she's gonna digest those sugars and create a new layer on top. So over, the next maybe week or 2, you're gonna start to see this thin layer forming on the top, and that's a good sign. That means it's working.
So we'd suggest getting started on this process at your earliest convenience so that you can give your mother as much time to grow, because what we want is something that's at least 1/3 to a 1/2 inch thick. That thickness will allow for the best, the most pliable and supple mother. And we'll do another session when we're harvesting the mother. There's certain things you can do to ensure, depending on how your mother's drying, if she's drying out really brittle, then we can add coconut oil. There's things we can do, or we can reconstitute her and put her out again to the desired thickness. But we'll talk about all of that in our next session with you.
Yeah, so hopefully this is enough to get you going and you have directions, you have what you need, and just make up your mixture and then put it somewhere, keep it dark in a warm place, and you're gonna have a kombucha mother.
And we're going to be delivering mothers to Anne, who will make sure that all of you get a kombucha mother for your starter kits.
So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you at Mother Nurture.